Before the first star was born, there was no light, no sound, and no form. There was only the gap, a vast yawning emptiness called chaos. Chaos was not a god, nor a place. It was the infinite possibility of nothingness. For eons, this silence was absolute, a cold, dark sea without a shore. But within the deep breath of chaos, something began to stir. A foundation was needed for the stories that were yet to be written. From the void, Gaia arose, the mother of all, the solid ground under the stars. She was the earth, a living force of stone, soil, and ancient memory. At the same time, the deep darkness found a name: Tartarus. Tartarus lay far beneath Gaia, a sunless pit where shadows go to hide. Then came Eros, the golden current that makes life crave more life. Eros was the spark that would ignite the union of the cosmos. Out of chaos also came Erebus, the thick gloom of the lower world, and Nyx, the night, who wrapped the world in her velvet wings. Nyx and Erebus gave birth to Ether, the bright upper air of the heavens, and to Hemera, the day, the first light to ever touch the stones of Gaia. Gaia, in her vast power, brought forth a companion for herself. She gave birth to Uranus, the starry sky, equal to her in every way. Uranus wrapped around Gaia, his blue skin filled with the light of new suns. Gaia also created the Aurea, the ancient mountains that guard the horizon, and Pontus, the barren sea, whose waves were born from her own tears. Now the stage was set. The earth was solid, the sky was wide, and the sea was deep. Uranus looked down at Gaia with a love that was both creative and possessive. Their first union brought forth beings of immense and raw power. These were the Titans, the first generation of gods, tall as mountains. Oceanus, the great river that encircles the entire world in its flow. Coeus, the titan of the intellect and the center of the celestial axis. Creus, who mastered the constellations that move through the night sky. Hyperion, the pillar of the east, the father of the sun and the moon. Iapetus, the titan of mortality, whose name would echo through the ages. And Theia, the goddess of sight and the brilliance of the blue sky. Rhea, the mother of future kings whose wisdom was deeper than stone. Themis, the guardian of divine law and the balance of the universe. Mnemosyne, the mother of memory, who holds all things that have been. Phoebe, the shining one, who carried the light of the first prophecies. Tethys, the mother of the rivers and the hidden springs of the earth. And finally, the youngest and most cunning of them all, Cronus. Cronus was born with a sharp mind and a heart that did not fear the dark. But the Titans were not the only children of the sky and the earth. Uranus fathered monsters, the three Cyclopes, giants with a single eye. They were Brontes, Steropes, and Arges, the thunder, the lightning, and the bolt. They were master builders, their hands capable of shaping the very fire of creation. Then came the Hecatoncheires, the 100-handed ones, each with 50 heads. Cottus, Briareus, and Gaius. They were forces of pure and chaotic destruction. Uranus looked at these monsters and felt a cold and deep-seated fear. He hated their strength. He hated the way they moved through his kingdom. In an act of terrible cruelty, he forced them back into the womb of Gaia. He pushed his own children into the dark veins of the earth, sealing the gates. Gaia groaned under the weight. Her body was stretched and torn by the prisoners. The pain of the earth was constant, a pressure that could no longer be held. In the silence of the night, Gaia began to plot the downfall of the sky. She reached into the deepest part of her being and forged a new material. It was adamant, the gray stone that no blade could break, the metal of fate. She shaped it into a sickle, its edge as sharp as the breath of winter. She went to her Titan children, showing them the silver blade in the moonlight. She asked them for help. She asked them to strike against their own father. The Titans were paralyzed by fear. Uranus was the sky. He was everywhere. But Cronus stepped forward, his eyes reflecting the cold light of the sickle. He hated the tyranny of his father. He desired the power of the throne. Gaia smiled a dark and earthy smile. She told him where to hide. That night, Uranus descended from the heavens to lie with Gaia. He brought with him a heavy darkness, a fog that covered the entire world. From his place of hiding, Cronus waited. His hands were steady on the adamant. As Uranus reached out, Cronus struck with the strength of a falling mountain. He castrated his father, and the cry of Uranus tore the fabric of the universe. The sky was separated from the earth in a moment of absolute violence. The blood of Uranus fell upon the soil of Gaia, giving birth to new shadows. From the red drops arose the Erinyes, the Furies, the spirits of vengeance, and the giants, armored in gold, born to challenge the gods of the future, and the Muliae, the nymphs of the ash tree whose wood would build the first spears. But some of the blood fell into the white foam of the churning sea. Around the island of Cythera, the waves began to boil with a divine energy. From the foam, a woman of impossible beauty arose, Aphrodite. She stepped onto the sand, and flowers bloomed wherever her feet touched. She was the first of the great gods to be born from the violence of the sky. Uranus retreated to the highest heights, cursed and forever separated from Gaia. He looked down at Cronus and whispered a final, terrifying prophecy. You have struck your father. One day, your own son will do the same to you. Cronus laughed. He was the king of the universe. He feared no one. He cast the sickle into the sea and took his seat upon the black stone throne. The age of Uranus was over. The age of the Titans had begun. Cronus released his Titan brothers and sisters, making them his lords. But he did not release the monsters. The Cyclopes remained in the dark. He feared their power just as much as his father had. The world under Cronus was a place of eternal twilight and growing tension. He married Rhea, his sister, and together they ruled from Mount Othrys. But the words of Uranus began to eat at his mind like a slow poison. Every time a child was born, Cronus looked at them and saw his own ending. This first chapter of our story begins in the void, but it ends in blood. Gaia, though free from Uranus, realized she had only traded one tyrant for another. The adamant sickle had cut the sky, but it had also cut the peace of the world. We must look closer at the Titans, for their names are the roots of our language. Oceanus remained in his waters, watching the stars with a silent and deep wisdom. Hyperion watched the light, knowing that he was the bridge between the day and night. Themis kept the records of the laws that the world was beginning to learn. Mnemosyne walked the valleys, memorizing the shape of every mountain and leaf. The world was young, and the gods were raw, massive, and unpredictable. There were no humans yet, no cities, no prayers, only the breath of the wind, and the pulse of Gaia, who was still recovering from the violence of the separation. Cronus thought he had won. He thought the throne was his for eternity. But destiny is not a gift. It is a debt that eventually must be paid. The shadow of the sickle still hung over the halls of Mount Othrys. In the next chapter, we will see how the king of the Titans becomes a monster. We will witness the birth of the first Olympians and the hunger of a father. But for now, we leave the world in the hands of the great Titans. The sky is far, the earth is deep, and the sea is waiting for its master. This was the beginning, the emergence of form from the formless. The first war was a war of blood and betrayal, a war between father and son. It set the pattern for all the stories that would follow in this epic journey. Remember the names of the first ones, for they are the foundation of all things. Chaos, Gaia, Uranus, the trinity that started the clock of the universe, and Cronus, the king who thought he could outrun his own shadow. The echo of the adamant sickle still echoes in the silence of the night. Next time, we enter the Golden Age, an age that was anything but golden. We will see the birth of Zeus and the stone that changed the history of gods. Join us as we continue this unabridged exploration of the ancient myths. Each detail matters. Each character has a role in the grand design. This is the unabridged epic. This is where gods bleed. Subscribe and follow the thread of memory through the labyrinth of time. The story of the gods has just begun. We will see you in the next chapter.